Time for the market report. Prices inching upward. And that's all around with only a few exceptions. And we'll get into it and more. But first, the numbers. What were the week's biggest gains and losses? And then several USDA reports updating us on livestock, specifically cattle and poultry. And finally, in our row report, market analyst Sue Martin tells us what the experts are thinking at the moment. So, markets closed the week on the upswing, both row crops and livestock trending upward with only a few exceptions. Let's take a look. The week's biggest gain, wheat up nearly 18.5 cents, a 3.5% increase from the previous week. The week's biggest loss, sugar, down about 1/4 cent. That's more than 1.25 points from the previous week. So, several USDA reports came out recently, the cattle on feed report and the chicken and eggs report, both giving us significant updates on the livestock industry so far this year. Bella Bingham has the details.
In this month's Cattle on Feed report, cattle and calves on feed in the U.S. on May 1st totaled about 11.5 million head. That's 2% below May last year. Placements in feedlots during April this year about 1.5 million head, 3% lower than last year. Marketings of fed cattle in April nearly 2 million head, 3% down from last year. Other disappearance about 50,000 head, 11% below last year as well. In the chicken and eggs report, U.S. egg production totaled over 8.25 billion last month, down 7% from last year. How does that break up? About 7 billion table eggs and about 1.25 billion hatching eggs, most of which were broilers. Average number of layers, 352 million, down 6% from last year. Total layers in the U.S. as of May 1st, 352 million, down 5% from last year.
As you saw in the market update, row crop prices are rising, albeit slowly. So, what are the factors making that happen? Market analyst Sue Martin gives us the rundown, and it seems weather is the biggest thing, followed by geopolitical maneuvering.
The funds, I haven't seen Friday's, commitment of traders, but I think we've seen some short covering. But on the same token, the commitment of traders in the past few weeks have shown record short position in Kansas City wheat. And then in Chicago wheat, very large short position, but not record. And I think that when you look around the world and you look at weather, China's weather's very concerning. And, just this last week, they had temps of 104 in Hunan and some of the surrounding provinces, and they account for at least 20% of the wheat produced. And now, if China's going to be importing wheat, they tend to a lot of times go to Australia, but Australia's having some dry weather concerns too. And so, those two, now there's Russia. And Russia's been on the drier side and more arid here of late after we've had some frost freezes here in May. This almost feels like a year where Mother Nature could gratify Russia with a frost freeze in June. And a lot of times when you get a violent move higher in June, it's coming off of something that's happened in Russia. Savicon said that they raised their estimate by 1.2 million metric tons for Russian production and took it to 81.2. That still is not what you call really burdensome. And then you've got Rostov, the province there, or state, and the governor there is calling for state of emergency. So when I look at old crop corn, 85% of it's been sold. And so the commercial doesn't have any need to have to push bids to get the farmer to sell. So when I look at old crop corn, yes, we can still go higher. But for now, I think the concern is about new crop and the lack of farmer sales. Farmer sales are about the lowest they've been in 20 years. By the 1st of May. I think that the uncertainty with politics has maybe got them on hold for a minute. Price levels aren't high enough that attracts them. The other thing is that we keep hearing weather forecast, talking hot June and July, possibly first half of August. If that is the case, those farmers aren't going to sell, they're going to hold. I think the bean market still has room to go. I think new crop beans will trade over $11. What's sad is that doesn't sound like much when you're trading at what, 1050 or something like that, or 1059. That's certainly not asking the world. But it's going to take, we'd like an oil, a policy by the EPA, a decision of what they're going to do with the renewable fuel standard, the 45Z. We've had rumors, but we haven't got anything substantial. And the Senate, now with the big tax bill, the beautiful big tax bill, that one may be a little more of a struggle because in the House it only passed by one extra vote. And so I think that, but we keep hearing we're going to have something by June 1st. So that means they got to get busy this next week.
And that's it for a deeper look into the markets.